Morning, Rebels. It's Amy here. Lucienne is off to RT this week, so she is not with me, but I promise she will be back in one of our future videos probably next week. So this week, it's you and me, and I figured we would talk a little bit about my misconceptions on what I thought getting published would be like.
10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
Misconception number one is that I thought that I would feel like a talented writer, that I would be validated because I got a book deal and an agent, which happens a little bit, but actually once the sort of huge high that comes along with that subsided, I basically changed my definition of what I think a talented writer is, and so I'm still striving. Basically now I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll feel validated if I get good reviews, and then I'll get good reviews and think, okay, but I'll feel validated if they're starred reviews. Or the book will come out and it'll be on shelves, it'll get a display, which mine did, which was awesome. But then instead of feeling like, okay, that's validation right there, then I'm thinking to myself, okay, but I won't feel validated till I hit the list, or I won't feel validated till I have so many books that are sold. Misconception number two was that getting published and getting that agent would be the hardest part of this whole journey. And it is pretty tough trying to get through that first hurdle, but I can't say that that's the only hurdle that I've sort of come up against. I have to say that, that was hard, but staying published feels harder. It's sort of like when you get accepted to college. You think, okay, I'm in, and that's great, and now I'm set, and I'll graduate later on, and then you hit that freshman class where they say, look to your right or your left, and half of these people won't be here anymore in a year, and you start to realize that, like, your place isn't guaranteed. And that's what happens. I think now I feel like the hardest part will be staying published because there's so many amazing writers out there and there's so much competition for bookshelf space that I'm not sure that, I can hang. I hope so. Okay, misconception number three is that I would feel somehow that I belonged in the company of other published writers once I was published myself. And this is not the case, at least not for me. Truth is, I still get really goofy when I'm in the company of other writers because I think everybody seems brilliant and I feel like I'm like one fanny pack shy of being like the suburban ordinary chick that somehow slipped through the cracks. They all seem brilliant. Everybody seems to know so much about so many different things. They're all articulate and well read, and I feel like I'm over in the corner like, I write good. I think I also figured that once I got published, I would feel confident enough that the writing would just sort of flow, that I would sort of find my sort of, path or my habit that would work really well, and that, every book that I wrote as a published writer would just get easier. That's not happening. I would love to get that book that some writers talk about, that lightning strike book where they're like, I had the idea and the whole book was in my head all at one time. That has never happened to me. In fact, I never have had that experience where my characters talk to me either. And the whole thing for me is like a struggle against the silence. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in this book, in these characters' heads, and I feel like no one's giving me any sort of revelatory moments. I don't have characters telling me what they want me to do or what their character should be doing. I'm constantly finding out about the characters when I'm banging my head against the wall in the shower because I can't figure out where the story's going. Okay, misconception number five, can you see my fingers that time, is that I thought publishing, getting published, having a book out on the shelves would make me happy. That's when I would find my joy as a writer. And that's not how it worked at all. I think what I'm finding is I'm finding my joy as a writer when I find balance in my life and I give enough time to my family and to my writing and creativity. But it's figuring out that the writing itself is what's going to make me happy, not the getting published, because the getting published is an added layer to what I'm doing. And now a lot of times I have to write because I've got a deadline and not because inspiration is striking, but because I've got to get something written because this book needs to be done by a certain date and everyone's expecting it then. And so there's a lot of like pushing through times when I'm not necessarily wanting to write. It isn't all about, running around and feeling inspired all the time. My life still works the way it worked before I got published. My kids still have homework. I still have laundry and dishes, and we have family issues and all of those things that happen, and financial stress. And I have to write in spite of that. And so what I have to look at is that writing is my outlet for that stress. The getting published part is the icing on the cake. It's how I hope that I can make a living one day, but it isn't what's going to necessarily make me happy. All right, Rebels, that's it for today. As you can see, I've got my computer in the background and my plotting and planning board, and it's time for me to get to work. So I will see you next week. Bye.